I'm Dr. Balaji Narayanaswamy Ramanathan. This is my channel NANRSTR School of Wisdom. As part of daily reading, today we will be reading Old Diary Leaves, the true story of the Theosophical Society by Henry Steele Alcott. Forward. In the history of public bodies, the chapter which relates the origin and vicissitudes of the Theosophical Society should be unique. Whether viewed from the friendly or the unfriendly standpoint, it is equally strange that such a body should have come into existence when it did, and that it has not only been able to withstand the shocks it has had, but actually to have grown stronger proportionately with the bitter unfairness of its adversaries. One class of critics say that this fact strikingly proves a recurrence of human credibility and a religious unrest which is preliminary to a final subsidence upon Western conservative lines. The others see in the progress of the movement the sign of a worldwide acceptance of Eastern philosophical idea, which must work for the reinvigoration and incalculable broadening of the spiritual sympathesis of mankind. The undeniable fact is that up to the close of the year 1894, as a result of but 19 years of activity, charters had been granted for 394 branches of the society in almost all parts of the habitable globe, and that those issued in the latest year outnumbered the yearly average since the foundation in 1875 by 29.9%. Statistically viewed, the relentless and unfair attack which the Society for Psychical Research and the Scottish missionaries delivered against it in 1884, and which it has hoped would destroy it, merely resulted in very largely augmenting its prosperity and usefulness. The latest assault, that through the Westminster Gazette, must inevitably have the same ending. The simple reason is that, however thoroughly the private faults and shortcomings of its individual leaders may be exposed, the excellence of the society's idea is not impugned in the least. To kill the Theosophical Society, it is first necessary to prove its declared objects hostile to the public welfare, the teaching of its spokesman Pyrrhonish and demoralistic. It being impossible to do either to one or the other, the world takes the society as a great fact, a distinct individuality which is neither to be condemned nor applauded because of the merit or demerit of its representative personalities. This truth begins to force itself upon outsiders. One of the ablest among contemporary journalists, Mr. W.T. Steele, said in the Borderland, in the course of a digest of this old diary leaves, as they originally appeared in the Theosophist, that nobody now cares whether the column and SPR charges of trickery against Madame Blavatsky were true or false, her worst enemies being unable to deny her the credit of having affected modern philosophical thought to an extraordinary degree by popularizing certain noble Eastern ideas. The same holds with respect to her many colleagues who, like herself, have spread these ancient teachings through the medium of the Theosophical Society. This wonderful organization, which grew out of a commonplace parallel gathering in a New York house in the year 1875, has already made for itself such a record that it must be included in any veracious history of our times. Its development have gone on by virtue of an inherent force rather than as a result of astute foresight and management. And having been so closely for some years almost exclusively connected with the personal efforts of its two founders, Madame Blavatsky and myself, it will perhaps help the future historians of the survivors set down truthfully and scientifically the necessary facts. The series of chapters which now compose this book was begun nearly 3 years ago in the Theosophy magazine, and a second series devoted to the history of the society after the transfer to India is now in progress. The controlling impulse to prepare these pages was a desire to combat a growing tendency within the society to defy Madame Blavatsky and to give her calmness literary productions a cozy inspirational character. Her transparent faults were being blindly ignored, and the pinchback screen of pretended authority drawn between her actions and legitimate criticism. Those who had least of her actual confidence and hence knew least of her private character were the greatest offenders in this direction. It was but too evident that unless I spoke out what I alone knew, the true history of our movement could never be written. And now the actual merit of my wonderful colleague became known. In these pages, I have therefore told the truth about her and about the beginning of the society, truth which nobody can gainsay, placing as little value upon the praise as upon the blame of third parties, and having all my life being to act according to what I have regarded as duty. I have not shrunk from facing the witness plenaries of those who regard me as a dupe, a liar, or a traitor. The absolute unimportance of others' opinion as factor in promoting individual development is so plain in my mind that I have pursued my present task to its completion, despite the fact that some of my most influential colleagues have, from what I considered mistaken loyalty to HPP, secretly tried to destroy my influence, ruin my reputation, reduce the circulation of my magazine, and prevent the publication of my book. Confidential warning have been circulated against me, and the current numbers of the Theosophist have been removed from the branch reading room tables. This is child's play. The truth never yet harmed a good cause, nor has moral cowardice ever helped a bad one. Mr. Olpian in her literary history of England, page 263 says of Bentham just what may be said of HPP. It is evident that he had an instinct like that of the ancient mariner for the men who were born to bear and understand him, and great readiness in adopting in his affectionate very nobility whom he approved to be received and another of survive and development, which few of the greater mankind have gained from their fellow creatures. Where were there a human being of such a mixture as this mysterious, this fascinating, this light bringing HPP? Where can we find a personality so remarkable and so dramatic one, which so clearly presented at its opposite side the divine and the human? Karma forbid that I should do her a featherweight of injustice. But if there ever existed a person in history who was a greater conglomeration of good and bad, light and shadow, wisdom and indiscretion, spiritual insight and lack of common sense, I cannot recall the name, the circumstance, or the approach. To have known her was a liberal education. To have worked with her and enjoyed her intimacy as experience of the most precious kind. She was too great an occultist for us to measure her moral stature. She compelled us to love her, however much we might know her faults, to forgive her, however much she might have broken her promise and destroyed our first belief in her infallibility. And the secret of this potent spell was her undeniable spiritual powers, her evident devotion of the masters, whom she deposited as almost supernatural personages, and a seal for the spiritual uplifting of humanity by the power of the Eastern wisdom. Shall we ever see her like again? Shall we see her herself again within our time under some other guise? Time will show. By H.S. Alcott, uh, Uttarakhand, I think it's in Ooty in India, 1895, Cultism. So this is the forward given to old diary leaves. See, in this forward, we can see how the founders of an organization were neglected by others. Even Alcott is saying that the thing which he has published in the journal Theosophist has been taken away from some of the lodges. Now the Theosophical Federation has published a documentary, On Fire. Even in that documentary, recently I heard some of the lodges and some of the personalities, they say that should not be circulated among them. So that is there. That is there. See, whatever in any organization, there will be people who will be against it. That's what Alcott says in the forward. So this is the history of Theosophical Society. So when someone is with the Theosophical Society, you should go through this, the founders' activity. What was their intention? And we should not never go with the people who are just spreading and pretended to be Theosophist. So this is the forward. Thank you. And those who are not subscribed may kindly subscribe and kindly share with people which will be useful for them. Thank you.